afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Keith Sellers, President and CEO of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. I'm honored and grateful that you have joined us today. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize a few of our esteemed guests. Mayor Muriel Bowser, a proven leader and a big supporter of the partnership. Thank you. I'd also like to welcome and acknowledge City Administrator Kevin Donahue, Interim Chief of Staff Lindsay Parker, Secretary of the District Kimberly Bassett, Interim Mayor, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development Keith Anderson, who we're all very excited to work with. Congratulations. I'd also like to acknowledge our council, Chairman Phil Mendelson, Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie, Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, and Councilmember Brooke Pinto. At this time, I'd like to also thank WDCP's Board of Directors, who you all have been a great team to work with. Please stand and be recognized. And thank you all for being here today and for your support of the partnership. And finally, a special thank you to our sponsors for making this day possible. We are grateful and very grateful and appreciative of your sponsorship. Our theme this year is the shape of DC. To be adaptable is to be successful. The shape of our city has proven to be adaptable. Like many cities, we're facing some serious challenges, or as some would say, strong headwinds. But the district has proven its strength. Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital. All of us together will build a stronger, better Washington. I am proud of the role the partnership has played in shaping this city. In the 20 years I've been at the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, it has evolved. Our work has often been an incubator of ideas and impacts. Early on, we developed a framework to market the district to local audiences who had lost confidence in the city. Next, we marketed DC to those outside the city, in the region, and across the country. Building on our history and our location, the partnership has helped to position the city as a vibrant destination for investors, businesses, workers, and residents alike. The partnership's success have impacted the city and the region. But the shape of DC has changed since our inception. The shape of our neighborhoods have evolved. Many previous underserved areas of the city have emerged into new mixed-use neighborhoods such as Noma, Mount Vernon Triangle, the Capitol Riverfront, and the Wharf. The waterfront is a good example of how we can all work together to improve and strengthen our city. Most of you all remember it was once comprised of industrial properties and federal installations. Now our waterfront is a gem, a world-class destination, a place I am excited to take family and friends. Its success is the result of dedicated efforts and collaboration between the public and the private sectors, including the federal government. A big shout out to Hoffman and Associates. Congratulations. The district and the partnership success have also helped shape the economic base of our city. When the partnership was established over 22 years ago, we were focused on the business retention and retail attraction with an emphasis on grocers. Over that time, we helped to secure 58 grocers across the city. I think it's worth applause. As the economy changed, we shifted in our reach to the tech sector and to the creative economy. Our early work in these sectors and the success informs how we work together. This includes the approach in corporate attraction. DC has added a significant amount of new development over the past decade. Much of this mixed use and new residential is within neighborhoods such as the Noma Bid, Capitol Riverfront Bid, Edens, Union Market, Urban Atlantic's Rhode Island Row, Fort Totten Arts Place, Mount Vernon Triangle Bid, 8th Street, Main Street, Go Anwar, thank you, Petworth, Kennedy, Upshurst, George Avenue, Main Street, Rappaport's and W.C. Smith's Skyland Town Center, Urban Atlantic's and Hines, the Parks at Walter Reed, Roadside Development's award-winning City Ridge, and St. Elizabeth East. We also have added a significant amount of new trophy office space, including on the waterfront. While the progress is exciting, some of this new development has made us rethink downtown and the core of our city. For commercial office, it has begun a flight to quality. Similar to other cities, the pandemic has also hurt the downtown area. Our central business district is facing a number of challenges. It used to be the place for companies that companies wanted it to be. With fewer employees coming into the office and supporting our downtown retailers and restaurants, combined with a commercial vacancy rate not seen in decades at nearly 19%, the city is facing significant headwinds. But with challenge comes opportunity. Last year, in response to shifts in the market, the partnership engaged in a national consulting firm to analyze our competitive position at the local and national levels. They also provided us guidance on targeted industries. As a result of this work, we expanded our business development team. We hired Audrey Pope, Vice President of Corporate Attractions, and Suzanne White, Vice President for Real Estate Services. If you don't know them already, I suggest you meet them today. Audrey and Suzanne, please stand. Their focus is corporate attraction, business retention, and expansion. The two have been fantastic addition to our team. Chad Shusky and I have enjoyed working with you, and the city has benefited from your knowledge and actions. Thank you. Our team is working with our partners, including DMPED, and the bids to market DC and attract those businesses that leverage our assets and strengths. DC now has a few tools such as the Vitality Fund, a $10 million incentive program for corporate attraction, which we can use. Our focus is on several clusters where DC holds competitive advantages, such as those on the screen. In the past 18 to 24 months, there have been some great wins in the city, and some of those companies are with us today. There are 2 architectural firms relocating to DC from Virginia. HGA, which is moving into the Woody's building this fall, and KTGY, which just announced its relocation to the district and benefited from the Vitality Fund. Tech companies continue to expand in the district with the recent announcements of Virtue, Opius, and Google, all relocating and expanding their offices in downtown. There are national law firms and consulting firms such as Boston Consulting Group, which relocated to Metropolitan Square from Bethesda, and whom you all will hear from shortly. There are also nonprofit sector wins as well, including the National 4-H Council, which is also moving to Met Square. The American Institute of Physics, AIP, is taking space at 555 12th Street, and the International Baccalaureate relocated to City Ridge from Bethesda as well. Congratulations, Richard Lake and Roadside. How we design and build projects is changing and impacting the shape in our city. A good example is the Bridge District. This is one of the first mass timber projects in the city. It will be located in the Anacostia Business Improvement District, which is run by Christina Noel, who is here today. Christina is also responsible for unique centerpieces on your table. They were created by the newly established Art and Culture Creative Collective. Aren't they great? The Bridge District is being designed by ODA Architects and developed by Red Brick, who you will hear from shortly. I was recently asked what I would like to see for the future of DC. DC needs to examine and possibly reshape policies to guide the city's future. The partnership has a long track record in shaping perception about our city and its neighborhoods. We use data to tell our story. It is a story that is always changing. Our development report, which was released today, is a premier tool we use to sell the city. Another report we produce is the Neighborhood Profiles, which provides details on over 50 sub-markets across the city. When you look at this, it's easy to understand why companies and residents choose DC. It's about access to opportunities, talent, higher education, access to the federal government, and access to unparalleled amenities and cultural institutions. During my tenure at the partnership, I've learned economic development works best when we all work together. A strong DC depends on this. Everyone in this room is instrumental in shaping DC's past, present, and future. Let us celebrate the contributions that built the city's foundation and the people living and working in DC now, and those coming to join us soon. At this time, we celebrate this work in the shape of the future of DC together. With that said, I would like to invite Donna Cooper, WDCP's board co-chair, to the podium. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Donna Cooper, Region President of PEPCO and WDCEP Board of Directors Co-Chair.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Keith. Welcome again to the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership's annual meeting. Again, I am Donna Cooper, co-chair of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership and PEPCO Region President. I know that Keith gave a lot of accolades and recognized a lot of people in the room, but I would also be remiss if I did not acknowledge some of those same individuals because of their outstanding work and commitment to driving our economy forward. Mayor Bowser, I want to recognize you. Our Deputy Mayor and Co-Chair of the Economic Partnership, Keith Anderson. Sabangale Cook, representing the Deputy Mayor's Office on the Partnership Board. Chairman Phil Mendelson. Council Member at Large Kenyon McDuffie. He's also our chair of the Committee on Business and Economic Development. And all of the other council members that are here with us on today. Also, Keith, I have to recognize you, our esteemed board members, and last but not least, the staff. I have not seen a harder group of working people that have been advancing the interests of the district, so I want to recognize you. When I look across this room, it is filled, and it's filled with a mix of individuals representing multiple interests. From our business organizations, to our small businesses, to our developers, we have our banking systems represented, our universities, our nonprofits, and our government stakeholders. One of the things when we talk about success and driving economic development forward is that it requires many partners, and we have to work collaboratively in order to drive that change. It's a huge ecosystem. One of the things that I wanted to highlight in my remarks is focusing on the concept of change. Sometimes change can make individuals uncomfortable, and for others it can represent a combination of being uncomfortable, but also the excitement related to the opportunities that can emanate from change. We cannot be fine with the status quo. We are experiencing a major inflection point across the country and in the District of Columbia, and we have to get it right, working in partnership and collaboratively. If we think about history and anything that has impacted our world, the economy, there have been momentous occasions that have helped to drive that change. It compels us to action. It's a driving force. What I like about the District of Columbia, and I'm very affectionate about our great city, is that you represent this great nation's capital, but you have the energy, you have the drive, we have the resources, you're innovative, you're creative, you're thoughtful, you're intentional. Before equity and inclusion became this concept of the discussion point of the day, DC was advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, recognizing still yet that we have a lot more to be done. This is the melting pot, from my perspective, of big ideas followed by actions that yield outcomes. The pandemic has accelerated this for us, and we all have to rise to the occasion to act strategically with a degree of flexibility, intentionality, and I underscore again, collaboratively. If we think that we can continue to do things the exact same way, we will be set up for failure. At this time, it should not be about the me or the them, but the us. It takes all of us working together. We have to have the best minds, the resources, and a plan to move us forward. I know that the mayor will address a little bit later our 5-year economic strategy for the District of Columbia. Going back and looking at history again, if we look at the district's resurgence in many periods in our history, when we moved forward in a positive way, it was not ad hoc, but a plan that was thoughtful, intentional, and strategic. We must not lose sight that we are competing with others on business attraction and retaining our great businesses. And we appreciate you for choosing us. I do not question the moment that we're in, because we will rise. However, we have to all grow in the same direction to ensure that our foundation is strong, resilient, and sustainable. And I know that we can do this. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. At this time, I mentioned Chairman Mendelson earlier. I would like to welcome him to the stage, but before doing so, I wanted to share a little bit about his background. Chairman Mendelson, of course, is leading the Council of the District of Columbia, serving as the chair for our Committee of the Whole. While serving on the Council over his illustrious career, he has authored hundreds of laws for the benefits of district residents. From looking at issues of autonomy as it relates to our budget, establishing universal paid leave for DC families, co-introducing the Neighborhood Engagement Achieve Results Act, establishing the district's first renewable energy portfolio standard, and a host of other areas, implementing tax changes which are critical. Phil believes that government should be an honest, efficient deliverer of services, and the district should help those that are least able to help themselves and to develop the skills to become self-sufficient and in the cycle of poverty. I think that's something we all share. So at this time, without further ado, I would like to welcome to the podium the chairman of our council, Chairman Phil Mendelson.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna, for that introduction. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to commend the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership for all the work that it does on behalf of attracting businesses to the District of Columbia. I'm only going to talk for a couple of minutes, but I want to talk a little bit more seriously than I may have at previous annual lunches. We got our most recent revenue estimates on which the current budget deliberations are based. We got them at the end of February. I suspect that a lot of you think that those revenue estimates are a bit sobering. They are a little bit, but they actually show that we have a very healthy economy in the District of Columbia, except for the real property tax receipts, especially downtown. And that's why so many of us are concerned about where we are going in terms of our revenues. But the city's revenues are actually growing year after year. That's what the revenue projections show. They're just not growing as fast, and they're not growing as fast because we have a downtown that is not recovered yet, as you all know. In my view, to turn it around, what we need to do is we need to bring people back downtown. We need to look at ways, strategies to activate downtown. And that's something I think that the partnership can help us with in terms of suggestions. To be looking for activating events, such as somebody said to me just the other day, what about taking some of our vacant properties and using them for pop-ups, whether it's pop-ups for artistic events or some other people attracting event. Encouraging and looking for more opportunities to have street events like the barbecue battle that will be coming to once again to downtown in June, and I'm looking forward to that. And to support our arts organizations, the large arts organizations that have these events to bring people downtown, and our museums that attract people. And I don't mean the federal museums, I mean the other museums beyond the mall. Looking for activating events. And of course, pressing the federal government, and this is something that the mayor has lost no opportunity to message, that we need to get the federal government to return its employees to the office. I would clap a little harder for that one. And the mayor actually has suggested as part of this budget, that in the accompanying Budget Support Act, the language about trying to put some, how do I put this, constraints on how much teleworking is going on with the D.C. government. I had a hearing last week in which there was an agency, I won't name the agency, that said their policy is that their workers have to be in the office. This is a D.C. government agency. Their employees have to be in the office 1 day per pay period, to which I said, how many days in a pay period? 10. That means 1 day every 2 weeks. That's got to change in the D.C. government if we want the federal government to change. And the other factor that I think we need to address if we're going to rejuvenate downtown more quickly is we as a government have got to address the perception and reality regarding public safety. I think the city is safe. I feel safe in this city, but I know that there are people, too many people, who feel otherwise, and we have to address that because perception when it comes to public safety is a reality. So those strategies, the federal government coming back, looking for activating events downtown, and addressing the perception of public safety. I think those are immediate steps that the government can and should take to try to get downtown rejuvenated, because that is the one drag on our economy right now. As I said before, I think the Economic Partnership is positioned to uniquely make suggestions to the district government, to the council, as we have the budget before us, you all as well, in terms of what we can be doing to bring back and intensify economic activity in our city. It will make a difference in so many different ways in terms of what government does. Finally, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Keith Sellers for all of his work on behalf of the Economic Partnership, his service over these so many years. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman Mendelson. At this time, I am pleased to introduce at-large Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie and also the Chairman of the Committee on Business and Economic Development. Councilmember McDuffie was first elected in 2012, and in 2022, district residents in all 8 wards elected him to serve as the council member at large. Let's give him a round of applause. On the council, Councilmember McDuffie has established himself as a skilled legislator and a coalition builder, including having been elected by his colleagues to serve as the chairman pro tem since 2013. As Economic Development Committee chairman, Councilmember McDuffie works tirelessly to ensure that the district's economy continues to grow and that small and local businesses have a fair chance to take part in the district's economic growth. In 2020, Councilmember McDuffie led the district's efforts to provide immediate relief to businesses impacted by COVID-19 and authored emergency legislation which ushered in $100 million in grants to the businesses and workers hardest hit by the pandemic. He has authored laws intended to make the district a more racial, equitable, social justice, and economic inclusive city. Without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage the chairman of the Committee on Business and Economic Development, at-large Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Donna, for such a warm introduction. It really is so great to see so many friends, colleagues here today for this meeting. I want to thank the mayor and her entire team that's here today and acknowledge all the hard work they've been putting in, obviously for years, but I think given the tough financial times that we're seeing right now in the District of Columbia, I think it's important that we acknowledge how much work went into formulating the budget that the council now is considering. Let's give the mayor a round of applause, please. I also want to recognize my colleagues. You just heard from Chairman Mendelson. I saw Ward 3 Councilmember Matt Fruman earlier. I believe Ward 2 Councilmember Brooke Pinto is here, and I think I heard that Ward 1 Councilmember Brianna Doe is here, and any of my colleagues who I didn't see, I want to recognize as well. And I also want to thank Keith Sellers and his team for all the work that went into planning this event and all the work that the partnership has led in developing innovative ways to redefine DC's business retention and attraction strategy with a focus on equity and inclusion. And I also want to take just a moment to thank Keith in particular for all that he has done for the District of Columbia throughout his career at the partnership. And though we look forward with optimism toward his next chapter, I want to just acknowledge that he's going to be missed. Let's give Keith a round of applause. As chair of the Council's Committee on Business and Economic Development, I have focused my efforts and my team's efforts on ensuring that our government's policies prioritize the safety and economic security of our residents, our workers, and our businesses, that we eliminate the regulatory hurdles that hinder economic activity and job creation, and promote inclusive economic growth that offers people a world-class experience. The district's leaders are now faced with some important budget decisions that will have lasting impacts on our city. And it's imperative that we get things right. I'm calling on every person in this room who cares about our city to redouble your efforts. Make sure that we're working together to rebuild our downtown, to invest in our neighborhoods, and to do so while balancing the needs of the diverse communities that exist in the District of Columbia, particularly those who are most vulnerable. What I appreciate most about the economic partnership is its focus on collaboration and understanding how important it's going to be for all of us to work together to address our current economic challenges. And as we think about the future of the District of Columbia, as we think about rebuilding our downtown. I know that the partnership is going to continue to play such a vital role. But let me leave you all with one challenge. We've got to think boldly about our future. Now is not the time for the same old, same old. We can clap for that, for sure. It really is going to take the hard work of people, even where we disagree, to come together to get things done and to move our city forward. It's going to take leadership that is more equitable and thinking about a more inclusive District of Columbia for all Washingtonians. And so, again, I want to thank each of you all. I want to thank the staff of the board, of the partnership for all the things that you all have done and your work. And I wish you all the best on all the hard work ahead. Thank you all.
The Michael Hodge Revenue Bond Deal of the Year Award is named after Michael Vincent Hodge, a former D.C. government official who was responsible for developing the district's revenue bond program. During his tenure with the district, Michael was involved in over $1 billion in development projects. Since 1994, the D.C. Revenue Bonds program has issued more than $8.9 billion in bond financing. When Michael passed away, we had to find a way to keep his name involved with the program and created this award in his honor. This year's Michael Hodge Revenue Bond Deal of the Year Award goes to DC P3 Streetlight Project 2023. Working with VDOT and Helm by Plenary Americas, Hewitt Development Company, and Phoenix Infrastructure Group, the $309 million project will convert the city's more than 75,000 street and alley lights to energy-efficient LED technology with remote monitoring and control capabilities. This modern infrastructure will reduce lights' energy usage by more than 50%, eliminating 38,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions each year, and will extend Wi-Fi coverage in traditionally underserved neighborhoods.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I am Keith Anderson, and I am honored to be here as the interim deputy mayor for the Office of Planning and Economic Development, or DMPED. And also, thank you. And also as the co-chair of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. First off, I would like to thank Keith Sellers for his decades of hard work and dedication in the positive economic and social transformation of the District of Columbia. He has been an inspiration to us all as an advocate for all 8 wards in D.C., and I wish him the very best in his new endeavors. Thank you, Keith. Now, earlier this year, the mayor released the Comeback Plan, our guiding economic development plan for the next 5 years. Over 1,000 stakeholders help us shape that plan, including a lot of the people in this room, to ultimately make it the city's entire plan. The plan helps frame the work that is ongoing as well as new strategies to create neighborhoods that offer residents the chance to achieve their full potential, to reimagine a downtown as an urban center that is a destination of choice for residents, job creators, and visitors in a city where people choose to live, work, visit, and most importantly, thrive. You all are familiar with some of the goals we've been working towards already to make DC a city of greater opportunity for all residents. The Mayor's Challenge in 2019 to create 36,000 new units of housing, including 12,000 affordable by 2025. I am proud to say we are 80% of the way towards the 36,000 goal. That's right. And 60% of the way to the 12,000 goal. And last fall, we issued yet another challenge to our agencies and housing community. 20,000 new black homeowners by 2030. As you can see, we know the power these goals have, and we are not afraid to be bold. The comeback plan includes several new North Stars for our city's economic development, all just as bold as the goals I've mentioned, like 35,000 new jobs in high-growth sectors, 15,000 new residents in our downtown being just 2. As you all know in this room, downtown is one of our main areas of focus, and it is a priority for us to restore downtown's vibrancy that existed pre-pandemic in new and creative ways. Our downtown is home to 35% of our businesses, employs close to 240,000 workers, and generated nearly $1.1 billion in annual revenue pre-pandemic. Revenues from a thriving downtown helps us fund our programs, our schools, our infrastructure, and our city services. We know the time is now for action. Office vacancy rates downtown have doubled since 2018 and even surpassed the vacancy rates of the early 1990s. In February, the CFO forecasted nearly $500 million in revenue losses over 3 years due to declines in property tax revenue from large office buildings driven by sustained remote work. The good news, we are viewing downtown's reimagination through 3 lenses: fill the space, change the space, bring the people. Filling the space with programs like our Vitality Fund and our Creative and Open Space Modernization grants, changing the space, challenging us to think bigger about what downtown could look like. With more housing via our proposed Housing in Downtown program, adding more amenities, upgrading parks, and green space. And just yesterday, we were at Union Station with many of you talking about attracting our residents and visitors back to the entertainment epicenter of the city. We are working with our partners as well as the business and events community to continue this momentum around downtown. Now is the time for us to make bold investments in downtown and to continue working towards a city where people want to live and grow their families, where companies want to do business, and where tourists want to visit. We look forward with working with all of you, as well as our partners on the council, to ensure that our downtown recovery remains a top priority for the District of Columbia. Thank you, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Please join me in welcoming Ray Ritchie, Senior Executive Vice President for Boston Properties.
Good afternoon, everyone. So great to see so many friends in the audience today. Thank you for coming out to support the event. I have the distinct honor to introduce to the stage Justin Deed, head of Boston Consulting Group, Mid-Atlantic. Justin oversees operations for the firm's Washington, D.C. office, Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Pittsburgh as well. He's a member of the firm's executive committee and part of the leadership team in the energy practice. He also helps BCG's equity and inclusion efforts both externally and internally. Justin holds a BS degree in mechanical engineering from UVA, a master's in engineering from Northwestern, and an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management. Just amazing. Justin, you should be very proud of your academic successes. On a personal note, ironically, I met Justin over 25 years ago when he was a roommate of my adopted son, both football players at UVA. I was impressed with Justin then, and even more so now. What really demonstrates his tremendous wisdom to me personally was his decision to select our building, Met Square, for BCG's new DC headquarters. Simply a brilliant move, Justin, brilliant. And in that regard, I would be remiss if I did not say a collective thank you to you and your partners who are advocates for our great city of Washington, D.C. Justin made the bold decision last year to relocate the firm from the suburban Bethesda to downtown D.C. Their 115,000 square foot requirement for space was net new to the D.C. market, bringing nearly 1,000 new jobs to D.C. Their impactful decision brings hundreds of talented and highly influential professionals to our city every single day. This benefits our restaurants, our hotels, cab drivers, virtually every aspect of our business community. This is a type of great news the business community and the district in general can celebrate today. So again, Justin, thank you for your commitment to enriching the social fabric of our city. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Justin Dean.
Thank you, Ray. So thank you all for having me today. As a native son of DC, I'm excited to join you all in this forum and share how BCG is thinking about how we're supporting shaping the future of DC. Now, when I assumed the leadership position of the Washington, D.C. office in 2017, we set out a number of strategic priorities. My personal goal was to get us out of Bethesda and actually into the district. So I'm glad to report at least that job is done. So before we dive into the shape of DC, I'd like to briefly spend a little bit of time and elaborate on who BCG is and what our journey has been. We are a global consulting firm. So we work in over 90 cities and 50 countries worldwide, supporting a firm of over 28,000 employees. Our work ranges serving the private sector, the public sector, and the nonprofit spheres across a range of industries and functional topics. And we support our clients in solving some of their toughest problems, strategic, operational, and technology related. Now, our Washington, D.C. office, which was established in Bethesda, was in 1996 founded by 2 partners. Today, we're over 700 employees. So as we were looking for new space, we saw this as an opportunity not only to grow our business, but be a better partner to the community in D.C. So as Ray mentioned, we started exploring for space in relocation options in 2019, just prior to the onset of COVID. So we were actually one of the few companies that had full flexibility in thinking about how do we overhaul how we think about the future of work, both for our employee needs, our client needs, and our community impact. Now, while we innovated how we do work, one point in time being I can actually be here instead of flying around 5 days a week. The important part of being downtown in the DC ecosystem was never in question. Our purpose is to unlock the potential of those who advance the world, and there's no better place to do that than downtown DC. So as a DC resident and employee, we're at a critical time in DC as we emerge from the pandemic. The economic momentum that's fueled DC growth and vibrancy is facing serious headwinds, as we've discussed today. And while we appreciate the impact of hybrid work has been great, it hasn't been all positive. While people have reported increased personal productivity and flexibility, we've done a number of studies to say that the business productivity isn't always positively impacted as well. So the 60% of people that are no longer spending 90 minutes commuting to work aren't necessarily doing 90 more minutes of work. A lot of them are actually spending a little bit more time exercising, doing laundry, providing additional family support, all important things. Or in my case, maybe watching a few more reruns of NFL Network. But those are good, but those don't all necessarily drive economic productivity, particularly in businesses where collaboration, personal relationships, apprenticeship are fundamental to employees' learning, development, and advancement. Time together still matters. In COVID lockdown, we learned many businesses could function in a purely remote environment, but at what cost? For us at BCG, we were learning that what was lost in that endeavor requires some muscle to get back, and that requires us being shoulder to shoulder, problem solving. And that means with our both internal teams and clients as well. And for others, the model may be different, but the underlying need is universal. So as part of a soon-to-be-released BCG report, we examined post-COVID economic and working trends on several metropolitan areas. And the data was quite telling. I think Keith alluded to it a little earlier. 60 to 70% of workers are no longer commuting into urban cities. That has significant financial impacts in terms of annual revenue, decline in building value, significant decrease in tax revenue, which all can have a very adverse impact to urban cores, including Washington, D.C., one of the most diverse and special cities in the country. So we do need to address this head on, as the downtown and downstream effects of downtown will disproportionately impact vulnerable communities and deepen equity issues that we've been working so hard to resolve. So in spite of all the above, why did BCG decide to go the other way? And why would we encourage other corporations to do the same? I think, one, we take our commitment and participation as a member of the district seriously. We know we have to help provide economic stimulus for the district. We need to generate new good-paying jobs, and we have to support the well-being of the community. However, we're also a business, so being part of the fabric of DC makes good business sense. We're able to walk across the street to grab a coffee with our clients. We're able to host clients and coalitions in a common space to actually collaborate and solve unique problems. In a high-transit business like management consulting, we have better proximity to critical amenities to support our day-to-day work. And then our largest impact is our impact to our employees. We have the ability to make lives better for district residents, giving them new jobs and good-paying jobs. We've seen an improved productivity and morale. Our utilization is upwards of 70 to 80% relative 20 to 20% when it was in Bethesda. And as a service business, talent is our best asset. And being at the heart of DC allows us to attract the best talent from across the world and bring them here to DC. We're also a destination for our global firm. Over the last 10 years at BCG, when our office was in Bethesda, we hosted absolutely 0 regional or global events. In the 5 months since we've opened up our new office on 15th Street at Met Square, we've been host to at least 10 global and regional events, bringing in over 1,000 employees from BCG into the district to live, work, and play. So I'm not here with a moral plea, but relocating downtown and being together in the office is just good business. It's good business for the private sector, it's good business for the public sector, and good business for the broader DC community at large. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Join me in welcoming Joe Ochupinti, CEO, Mid-Atlantic for United Healthcare.
Hello. Good afternoon. It's great to be here. This morning kind of started off like every other morning. As I was walking out, my 10-year-old kind of asked me what my day was going to be like, and I said, you know, I got a pretty cool gig, but nothing like the opportunity to make a few comments and introduce Mayor Bowser. She said to me, as a 10-year-old, well, what are you going to say? And I'm like, well, I'll talk about Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, what we're doing with United Healthcare. She goes, my little girl, Kate, that isn't what you want to say to Mayor Bowser. You want to just tell her she's awesome. So I know she'll be up here in a minute, and if you bump into her, Mayor Bowser, her name is Kate, 10-year-old, please tell her I made sure that I told you hello. So on behalf of the 8,000 employees that live and work in the DMV for United Healthcare and the 3 million members that we serve in this region, you know, I'm thrilled to be part of this partnership. I do want to thank Rosalind Hopkins Fernandez, who's on the board for us, and let's give her a round of applause and thank you for what you do. But, you know, we must continue our focus here and the economic development in D.C. I do want to make sure that everyone really does recognize and celebrate really how much has been accomplished for many of you that are in the room, but also for Mayor Bowser. So please give everyone a round of applause for all of your commitment and what you do for this partnership. So the economic partnership goal is really to drive economic growth in D.C., really to help people, business, and infrastructure. You know, our mission within United Healthcare is very, very similar as it relates to helping people live healthier lives. But what is astounding to me and to many others is that as it relates to healthcare, 80% of healthcare decisions have nothing to do with the clinical setting or the healthcare decisions. It's based off of economic status. You think about affordable housing, you think about transportation, you think about nutritional food. Every one of those items have a major impact on if someone's getting the right level of care or quality of care. We look at these things as societal gaps. Where I have been so appreciative and humbled to be part of United Healthcare is when we reached out to the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. We said, hey, we want to put a program together, and this was also with the administration within the D.C. government, that's going to empower health, and it's going to get after some of these economic challenges that we're seeing. And so I really just want to thank the Economic Partnership for putting us in touch with areas like Capital Area Food Bank, D.C. Greens, D.C. Central Kitchen, and also being able to partner to get affordable housing with Anacostia Gardens. I mean, without those level of organizations, we would not have the ability to engage in the community and help D.C. get back to where it needs to be from an economic standpoint. You heard a little bit earlier about the comeback plan and the affordable housing, and we remain committed to that. So much of that will drive the level of care and getting people back in the district. So last, I'll end with kind of how I started. So much of what has been accomplished is because of you in this room, but so much is because of the great leader that we have in Mayor Muriel Bowser. She remains a dedicated servant leader. She continues to be a catalyst for change. I've had the pleasure to get to know her a little bit and work on some of these initiatives that I had just shared. But she has such a tremendous vision, and we just appreciate her support of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. So let's give it up, a big round of applause, and yes, you are awesome, for Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Please join me in welcoming D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am delighted to be with you today, and I want to thank the partnership for your incredible work, not just in pulling us together today, but to selling the District of Columbia to businesses and retailers all over this nation and world so that they can come to Washington and be a part of the shape, in the new shape of Washington, D.C. I want to speak on behalf of my entire administration and the people of Washington in thanking Keith Sellers. Let's give Keith a big round of applause for his tireless work for the partnership. I won't tell you how long I've known Keith, but we were neighbors. And I am just very proud of the work that we've been able to do together. Donna Cooper and Keith Anderson, the co-chairs, Richard Lake, and the entire board. Thank you for the work that you do to partner with the city on economic development. We have talked quite a bit today about our 5-year economic development strategy that I've dubbed the Comeback Plan, that is focused on the recovery of Washington, D.C. Just yesterday, we were talking about the elements of that plan at Washington Union Station, talking about how we are focused on our downtown core, on making sure that they are vibrant and the vibrancy that we so love returns. And as you know and you've heard, I delivered my budget proposal to the council just a few weeks back. And it does acknowledge some sobering realities that we're all living with. The city faces increased cost and declining revenues. But we all know what the pressures of recovering from the pandemic have meant in our businesses and even our households. We're very focused on the effects of telework on our economy and its impact on our commercial property values. But this budget, we're proud of it. It faces those economic realities head on. It's strategic. It's disciplined. It doesn't increase taxes or fees. And it makes sure we are investing in our priorities. It also doesn't chase every new shiny project. And I've been elected a lot of times in the district, so I have proposed and funded and delivered my share of new shiny projects. But now is the time to focus on the basics. Focus on how we're delivering services, how we're supporting our people, and how we're bringing our downtown back. And that is what you'll find in my 2024 budget proposal. I'm looking forward to working with the council as they deliberate, have hearings, and also make tough decisions about how to balance our budget. I'm also proud of companies like Justin Dean's in the Boston Consulting Group. Wasn't he great? Give him a big round of applause. I think I just decided we're going to spend a lot of time together talking to businesses about how to talk about the benefits of being together. I was proud several years ago now, 2 years ago, to bring DC government back in person. Now, it's true that fully 40% of DC government workers never were off during the pandemic. They never worked at home, and they don't have jobs that allow them to telework. Our police officers, our firefighters, our trash workers, and other people who are working face-to-face, shoulder-to-shoulder to serve DC residents. And when our office workers came back to the office, we allowed them some flexibility, of course, but we did tell them our jobs are local and in person, and we need to be together, and we've been together. I have had the occasion with this budget, as the chairman just mentioned, to make sure that even the independent agencies that don't report to the mayor and have their own human services functions also have a commitment to being together and working together in person, especially for our very important financial and legal functions of the government. So I do hope that our proposal to have all DC independent agencies rowing in the same direction with the mayor proceeds through this budget process. We've talked already about, and I like the way you put it, Mr. Chairman, that I never miss an occasion to talk about how important the federal government is to the district. We have spent a lot of time in our economic development strategies diversifying our economy. And we have attracted a lot of private sector jobs, and we're proud of them. And the Vitality Fund allows us to have the toolbox to attract even more. So in this budget, we advance our commitment to that Vitality Fund. But we know we still need the federal government to have most of its workers most of the time reporting to their offices, not just to satisfy our economic development goals, but to really deliver on the promise of American productivity in our federal workforce. So, Justin, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing around productivity, because that has to be a part of the conversation. We also know that diversifying the mix of use in our downtown will make it more vibrant. Having office workers, having residents, having kids, having festival goers and party goers all make for a more vibrant downtown. And our budget also makes a commitment to changing the mix of 87% commercial property, which is where we are now, to a better mix. And this budget includes a housing fund that will allow us to get there. Our goal is to add 15,000 people to the downtown, or 9,400 housing units. Housing in downtown, a program that we propose, will allow us to add 6.3 million square feet of new housing, which is about 90% of what's needed to get there. You heard Councilmember McDuffie earlier say we can't do it the same old way, and we agree. That's why this budget proposes with our housing in downtown to pilot some initiatives that will make building housing and building affordable housing easier in the downtown, and to attract the investment to Washington, D.C. that we have seen going to other regions. I can't emphasize enough how having a stable policy environment will help us meet our goals in building more housing and attracting more businesses to the downtown. Finally, I'll mention that we back up all of this plan with a big investment in the housing in downtown over the course of the next 5 years. So the truth is, while some decisions before us are tough, we have the tools and the talent, and we can rely on our fiscal responsibility of many, many years to weather our recovery. So it is with partnerships like our partnership with the Washington Economic Partnership that will help us get there. So I want to thank you for all the work that you are doing with your employees, with your businesses, and with us to grow your business right here in Washington, D.C. I want you to know that my administration stands ready to assist you on any questions that you have. Or we're also here to listen to the suggestions that you have for us. We know that you're out there doing the work, and we want to make D.C. government your partner. Thank you all.
Join me in welcoming Louis Dubin, Managing Partner of Red Brick LMD.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see so many people here today. My name's Louis Dubin, and I'm one of the founders and managing partners of Red Brick LMD, a community-minded developer, owner, and manager of high-impact real estate that reflects the way people want to live, work, and play in the coming decades. One example of our work is the Douglas, which broke ground almost a year ago at the Bridge District, a red brick development in Ward 8. It's currently the largest multifamily building in the world to pursue ILFI zero carbon certification. The largest in the world, in Washington, D.C. We also plan to pursue this certification across the street from the Douglas at Parcel 2 for the building that Eran Chen designed, and you'll be hearing from him in just a moment. I'll start my brief remarks by saying thank you to the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership for hosting today's annual meeting and bringing us all together. And can we applaud, and a hearty applause, please, the dedicated event staff who've taken such great care of us this afternoon. As a proud DC native and fourth-generation real estate developer, I've spent much of my life transforming communities and building dynamic urban neighborhoods. My career journey has connected me with many developers, designers, engineers, and other professionals, all very passionate, talented, and exceptional. And while I shy from ranking any of the remarkable individuals who I've had the great fortune to know and work alongside, I will say that today's keynote speaker, Eran Chen, is someone who I deeply admire and greatly respect. Since establishing ODA in 2007, Eran has earned a reputation for mold-breaking designs, that's his word, and projects that improve lives in our cities. In the past decade, his firm has completed more than 50 buildings, making him one of the most prolific architects today. Eran has been published in hundreds of magazines and won dozens of awards for his work around the world. ODA is now working in 14 countries with projects ranging from the restoration of a 100-year-old post office in Rotterdam to a new experiential skyscraper in New York City, to a sustainable new development right here in Washington, D.C. in the Bridge District with my firm Red Brick. Eran has shown an innovative approach to master plans in cities like New York and Chicago, and I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts today on the shape and state of our nation's capital. Please join me in welcoming to the stage ODA founding principal and executive director, Eran Chen.
Thank you, Luis, for the warm introduction. Thank you, Keith, for inviting me. And a big thanks to Mayor Bowser for everything you do for downtown. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here today and share my thoughts with such an incredible group of people. As Luis mentioned, I am a New York City architect, and this is not a traditional setting for an architectural talk. Yet all of us here today are all united by a common concern: Washington, D.C.'s rising infrastructure problem. While we all recognize the hardship that D.C. Center is experiencing, much of it caused by the decimation of COVID, mass exodus of office workers, and an aging infrastructure, I would also argue that we're also standing at the threshold of an unparalleled opportunity, a change for a positive evolution of D.C. Center, one that will lead to a vibrant, mixed-use, equitable, and accessible public realm, one that could bring dramatic financial, urban improvements to all. Now, before I start, I'd like to tell you a personal story. It's profoundly shaped my view on urban renewal and seems very relevant to this conversation. When I was 10 years old, I lived with my mother at a social housing project in the southern city of Israel called Beersheba. Our neighborhood consisted of 3 6-story row houses forming a U-shape around a garden. All of the apartments and balconies were facing inwards. For all of us as kids, this courtyard was a multi-generational place of excitement and experience. Every day I would come back from school with a bunch of my friends, and we would play there for hours. My mom, who worked at a lab at that time, would come back home around 5 o'clock, make dinner, and would call me from the balcony. But she didn't just call my name. Instead, she used to whistle. Yes, we had our own whistle, like an ancient ringtone. And here's the amazing part. All of my friends and their moms all had their own whistles as well. Each one was distinct and unique, and so every day between 5 and 6 o'clock, the courtyard will be filled with symphony of whistles, and with this enchanting sound, we knew that the day is over and it's time to go home. This garden of whistling moms is my strongest childhood memory. Those courtyards were the heart of our neighborhood. But the activity that they facilitated was the life of our community. Perhaps this childhood memory shaped the DNA of my office, ODA. We have been studying the public realm in modern cities around the world and the ability to transform them in today's need. We believe the transformation requires three overlapping principles. One, density. More people doing a wide range of activity across different hours of the day. Two, open public space. Not just any space, but one that is carefully curated and enhances experience of human interaction. And three, street-level activators around the open space. Typical rental along the sidewalk is not the only game in town anymore. We need more diverse, more affordable activators. Now, we believe that cities can transform if we concentrate on experiences, not only programs, and on placemaking, not only services. At ODA, regardless of scale, program, or geography, we always aim to overlap those three principles. For example, in Brooklyn, we designed a project called Denizen, where the typical New York City blocks were revamped to create a neighborhoods tied together by a series of pedestrian gardens. Carefully orchestrated with indoor and outdoor amenities and retail, we created mega murals made by local artists for the community. These murals that are seen by the public enhances the experience, overlapping art, community, and city life. In Buenos Aires, we converted a huge parking garage into a mixed-use green building. It connects to the central Palermo Park by a ramp loop that allows the public to go up to the roof, enjoy the surrounding views, and go back down to the park. This is the first time in Argentina that an exclusive office building overlaps with a public park in such a way, uniting the public realm and a Class A office building. The building, by the way, is owned by the city and was leased to a developer for 50 years. In Rotterdam, we converted a dormant, fortress-like, century-old office building to a national monument to a mixed-use complex anchored by two public atrium connecting two sides of the city block. This project will be a game changer for the city. It brings hotels, bars, shop, events, workforce, as well as residential tower into the city center. This act of opening the hidden inside of the building as a common space creates a sense of surprise, enhance the urban experience, and bring life into the city center. And here in DC, with Hoffman, before Hoffman, JBG, we designed West Half, an urban amphitheater across the National Ballpark, uniting the life in the street and the life in the building. And now with Hoffman, at the Wharf, we designed a Pendry Hotel and residence, where we set back the building from the property line to create an open plaza, extending the otherwise linear activity. And finally, in the Bridge District with Red Brick, we're designing the largest timber building in DC, a structure that will save between 20 to 30% in carbon footprint. We created huge openings in the buildings to unite the street life with the communal courtyards. When finished, this building would be the largest multifamily building in the world to pursue zero carbon certification. Amazing for DC. So let's get back to our beloved and beautiful national capital. Here's the challenge at hand. Let's look at the Golden Triangle in downtown DC, an area that is anchored between DuPont Circle, the highway at the west, and Union Station on the east. Now, allow me to share some facts visually. The district is one of the largest concentration of office buildings in the nation. The buildings are large in footprint, and many are over 60 years old. Only a small percentage are Class A. Many others, the office space buildings, are unusable for modern work environment. The vacancy rate is the highest it's ever been, and there's no end in sight. This level poses a huge risk, as we heard, in the city financial stability, causing a loss of billions of dollars in the next years in property taxes. The urban activators, like the National Mall, the Museum District, Georgetown, George Washington University, they're great, but they're not enough for the size of this district. We need more. And retail, where existing, is deep, inefficient, and declining. Most of it was built to service the commuting professionals with very little draw to anybody else. Now, prior to coronavirus, as was said before, thousands of DC area workers commuted daily to work. This density is served to inject livelihood at the street level and dramatically declined. The boundary heart of DC is at risk. And here's the question. The city is already built. The buildings are already there. Can we revive the public realm? Is there a way to infuse new life through adaptive reuse? And can the active public realm give new life to the buildings above? At ODA, we've been asking ourselves this question for quite some time because it's not just a DC problem. It's also a New York City problem, a San Francisco and Chicago problem. And similarly, by the way, it's also London and Santiago problem. It's a global plague on our cities. We'd like to bring back the beating heart of DC by creating an active public realm that does not solely rely on the commuters, but also is attractive to people all the way around the city. If we succeed, this will add value to the buildings above and allow us to basically flip the script. What if the Golden Triangle and the downtown DC were a series of communal courtyards? Allow me to present DC greenways. Let's focus on the Golden Triangle located between DuPont Circle, the White House, and anchored by K Street and Connecticut Avenue. The streets and sidewalks are not large enough to create a meaningful public realm. On the other hand, the alleyways are used only for service and could be an invaluable public asset. Let's even zoom in more. I would like to propose two surgical changes. Change number one. Let's identify in the district buildings that are too deep for modern use or for residential conversions, and then incentivize developers to cut them at the alleyway side, making them convertible to residential use while relocating the floor area lost to the roof. The value in the upper floor is much higher because of light, air, and views, and will be a major driving incentives for developers and owners. The outside ground floor created by the cut will become privately owned public space, expanding the alleyways into landscape gardens. Look at that. My kids' school time. Privately owned public spaces, expanding alleyways into landscape gardens open to all. Change number two. For the enclosed ground floor, I propose inclusionary retail, what I call an affordable retail program. Managed by an independent body, owners and developers can exchange the underused ground retail space for area at the top. This underused ground floor will then be rented at a nominal regulated cost to major activators around the city in need for space, including classrooms, performance centers, artist studios, sports facilities, and large gathering spaces. Now, I'm quite aware of DC buildings' height limitation, and therefore I call for a surgical treatment. Only the contributing building will get the height, not the entire zoning district. The roof addition will be set back enough so it's not visible from the street, maintaining a traditional height perception of DC. The result of these two principles would eventually create a series of interconnected, active, creative, and walkable courtyards that draw in the community on a daily growing basis. Let's look at an example. Let's say George Washington University in Georgetown can use both teaching spaces as well as event spaces at the street closer to their campus, and they do. Museums like the Smithsonian, National Gallery, and the Hirshhorn would enjoy artist studios, community program, and open exhibition space, which they need. The new civic program along the extended open space will create transparency and enhance pedestrian activity. The flow of people at the civic anchors will create a chain reaction, attract new type of businesses, free market and under the inclusionary program, inside a courtyard and on the streets. The heart of the Golden Triangle will become a living destination with increased motivations to convert more building to residential. The new local population will demand a new type of family-related retail. Now, the hidden courtyard and the alleyways will become the backbone of these new communities, making the area a more attractive place to live. The affordable ground floor created by the inclusionary program will cater to the needs of the community, not just determined by the market forces. This will lead to a fun, active, and walkable neighborhood, bars, restaurant, galleries, maker's space, urban farms, drawing people back into the city center. The new local population will demand services, family needs like playground, childcare, groceries, doctor's office to support the growing residential communities. And here's the best part. More and more people would want to come back to the office. With such a fun and active neighborhood, commuters will enjoy a few days a week in the office. Friends, for any great challenge, there is a great opportunity. Let's work together to create a more realistic plan that can take DC out of the current trouble and present it as the city of the future. Let's call up together our city agencies, federal agencies, the bids, to envision a more realistic plan that will result in an energetic change. The eyes of the world is looking at DC for a solution. We can step into the new hybrid urban environment being demanded by our citizens. Let's look forward to more families, as the mayor said, more kids, and more whistling moms alike. Thank you for your time.
Welcome back to the stage, Donna Cooper.
Thank you very much. That was profound and outstanding. And one of the things that was consistently stated earlier from Councilmember McDuffie, reiterated by our mayor as well as Chairman Mendelson, is that we cannot ultimately do things the same identical way. We have to really drive change. I love that presentation because it really is about change, being innovative, being creative in order to ensure that we're advancing the city forward. At this time, we have a special recognition. Several people have recognized Mr. Keith Sellers. Keith has been with the partnership for 20 years. He started He was recruited coming out as an executive with the Whole Food Corporation, brought to the Economic Partnership, and you have seen the true resurgence of the District of Columbia. When the mayor was speaking earlier, she talked about selling the city, and the partnership has done that. And when I say that, I think back to ICSC in those days when we started going out there. I remember Mayor Williams used to talk about the fact that we had literally like almost a card table that we took out there, set up shop, tried to engage retailers to attract them to DC, and we got to a point where ultimately we were making some choices ourselves. DC was the place, people were wanting to come here, you were a part of that particular evolution. We're now at a time where we have even more greater opportunities. And you, Keith, and I want to say this, economic development is in your DNA. I think about it when I look at you and how your face lights up when it comes to major projects, major initiatives. You have served the city well. Let's give him another round of applause. You have worked tirelessly to really advance the interests of the city, the people, and the communities. One of the things I always say, people hear economic development and think there's some divide as it relates to the social aspects. Without economic development, we cannot lift the social fabric, and you understood the connectivity there. So you will be dearly missed. I want to call all of our board members to the stage. Please come forward. I also would like to call our mayor to the stage. I would like to also call Chairman Mendelson, as well as McDuffie, to the stage. We have a very special video, and we also want to make a presentation to you, Keith. We cannot close out today without recognizing you. And our board, I just want to recognize them. For us to be successful, these people that are coming up on this stage work literally daily and night to ensure that our city is going forward on the side of everything else that they're doing. So Keith, thank you, and please look at the video. I told them to keep it upbeat. I haven't seen it because we cannot have a solemn exit for you. It has to be upbeat, and wishing you well on your next steps. Come to the stage.
Talk about flowers. I'll keep it simple. I just want to say thank you. This has been an amazing journey, opportunity, and as I've shared, it's been a really privilege and an honor to do this type of work and to work alongside with many of you all in the room. And I just wanted to say thank you sincerely. God bless.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call Mr. Chad Chusky to the stage. Welcome, Chad Chusky. And let me give you a little bit of background. We will dearly, dearly miss Keith. I know his hands will continue to be in the economic sustainability and vibrancy of the District of Columbia. We are honored and privileged in the interim to have Mr. Chad Chusky serve as the interim CEO and president. When I was talking about longevity, let's give him a round of applause. Chad has been with the partnership as well for at 20 years. So he is very much so committed to the District of Columbia and the growth and development of the district. So I know we will be in great hands. So Chad, please come forward. Thank you. And close us out.
Doesn't matter. You lose track after 20. Well, thank you, Donna, and thank you to our board of directors. I'm honored to serve as the partnership's interim leader, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to steer this organization toward continued success. But I also want to thank our staff, and I'm going to ask if they would please stand up for a round of applause. You know, while we tend to highlight our programs and initiatives, it's really the people behind those programs that deserve the credit for the partnership's success. And to Keith, thank you for your leadership, mentorship, and most importantly, for your friendship for the past 2 decades. You have built a strong foundation that will allow the partnership to ascend to new heights. And after some long-deserved rest and relaxation, I can't wait to see what you have in store next. Our annual meeting theme this year was the shape of DC, and we have seen today that the city's geography is constantly evolving. And it is how we choose to adapt to these changes that will define DC moving forward. Today's keynote speakers provided excellent examples of how resilient our community is, why we offer such a compelling story for others who are looking to call DC home. Over the past 20 years, the partnership has been a consistent force, helping to shape DC's economic development efforts, and we will continue to be a trusted and reliable partner to both the public and private sectors. With our efforts to activate storefronts and bring needed services to underserved neighborhoods, along with a new focus on corporate attraction and expansion to create jobs and investment in our commercial cores, we look forward to working with the Mayor, the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, the DC Council, and our community partners on DC's comeback plan. To those in the audience who might be learning about the partnership for the first time today, please know that we welcome new opportunities to collaborate on initiatives that align with our mission, as we are stronger as a city when we work together. In closing, I would like to thank our annual meeting sponsors, our board of directors, and our stakeholders for their continued support. I, along with the partnership staff, look forward to working with you over the coming months as we continue our efforts to create a vibrant and economic future for the city. This concludes our program. and thank you for joining us today.